Hello, everybody. It's great to be here. This is a new thing for us, is to be teaching about how to use quantum touch to attract and create miracles. Now, this got started because Jennifer and I have each been experiencing a series of remarkable, unaccountable, crazy, wonderful miracles that we just could never have anticipated. When the virus struck and our income suddenly dropped down pretty close to zero, Jennifer decided that this was going to be our finest hour, not a tragedy. And with that in mind, we both started really working deep internally, making shifts within ourselves to do what we could do to create a better reality. And I stumbled across some techniques. Just make a little note to myself here at the end. Let's go. Yeah, I'll mention that one too. I have a few notes I wanted to say. Okay, and I've made more income. I'll be making more income this year than I probably made in the last 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years. And it's all miraculous. I was thinking about something I wanted to see and flipped on the tube, and there was the exact show, the episode that I was wanting to see. There's opportunities opening up. And so I'm going to show you a way to use quantum touch to attract miracles. Okay, so save your questions, and I'll probably pause from time to time and or you can write down your questions and send them to Jennifer. And if Jennifer, you have any comments about how questions should operate, this might be the moment to do so.
I'll just monitor the chat.
Okay, she'll monitor the chat and she can pass them on to me. I'm not sure how you'll do that, but maybe just interrupt and start talking if there's something that seems appropriate. Okay, so the first question that I would raise is, what is a miracle? And I would say that the functional definition of a miracle is when something occurs which vastly exceeds expectations. In this case, positive miracles, positive expectations. Miracles are real, and it is possible to learn how to receive them. Now, in order to change the outer reality, we first need to change our inner reality. And the price of miracles is self-transformations. So a good place to begin is this thought. And you can think this thought every day for the next 5 years, and you would only be better off for it. And the thought is, miracles are not too good to be true. They are good enough to be true. Because what you're doing is you're going to reframe the whole reality. You're going to reframe the way we think about reality and what it means to you. What we call reality is actually incredibly fluid. And there are more things possible than we know. None of us truly know our limitations. And whatever you believe your limits are, I can absolutely guarantee you that you're wrong. We have no clue on what's possible. Miracles are natural. And they come in all shapes and sizes, from the mundane to transformational. They can be anything from finding the impossible parking place, healing when hope seems lost, meeting the ideal partner, receiving a spectacular opportunity, gift, surprise, you fill in the blank. That's what miracles are. And it's important to realize also that we live in a spiritual reality. And nothing happens by chance. The tragedies that occur, I call them tragic blessings. They're never a blessing when they occur, but only in retrospect do we see them, and I term them dark miracles. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later. It is possible to align yourself not only to attract the occasional miracle, but it's possible to experience miracles every single day and even multiple times a day. Yesterday, I counted at least 3 significant miracles, and one of them is going to save me about $250,000. So that was a good one. Oh my God, somebody's on my desk. This is Enzo, by the way, and he is a miracle cat. So another thing about miracles to be aware of is you cannot force miracles into existence. You can't manipulate. You can't use logic to attract miracles. If you try to use logic or force or manipulation, it's absolutely going to work against you. Miracles are by definition miraculous, and they cannot be controlled, and by their very nature, they're unpredictable. Another thought to realize, and I've talked about this before, probably in Self-Created Health, that if you want to get to a new place within yourself, the experiences of being there are actually the steps of getting there. The process of getting there are the experiences of being there. So we're going to learn how to get to that place without using force or manipulation. The process is everything. The ends, the things that you want, they are simply illusions along the way. You drive along the road and you see the sign, and the sign says you reached the 50-mile mark. Well, it's just a marker. It isn't the goal. The goal is the trip, not the mile marker. And getting is one part of the journey, but it isn't the whole journey. So be aware, everything is about the process. So let's talk about the law of attraction and why I've been very upset about the way it has been taught. This is going to be so good. Many sincere people have been sorely disappointed when they attempt to apply the law of attraction, because it's been presented in a manner that's been overly simplistic, overly shallow, and the idea of forcing yourself to be super duper positive with positive emotions and endless affirmations is not a recipe for creating favorable outcomes. Enforcing positivity on top of an old wound or on top of resentments. I'm going to be positive even though I'm still really upset inside. I'm really angry and I'm really hurt, but I'm just going to smile. I'm going to pet the cat, as one famous teacher often talks about. I'm going to put myself in a good feeling place. You're still going to attract suffering, because if you put a Band-Aid on a boil, it's still a boil. Maybe you don't see it. You can put a Band-Aid over the oil light in your car, but if the engine doesn't have oil, you're in bad shape. So it's essential to understand that we're not going to use any force or manipulation to get ourselves into these amazing spaces where we can attract miracles. Another thing to be aware of and to really consider is a word that I like called pronoia. I don't know how many of you have heard this word before. Pronoia is the opposite of paranoia. And it suggests, I'm hearing a little beeping sound. It suggests that the universe is actively conspiring on your behalf. All the good stuff that happens to you, all the crappy stuff that happens, is still the universe conspiring on your behalf. Only when you get to the other side of it do you realize that the dark stuff was really a blessing. But like I said, it doesn't feel that way. The universe is actually madly in love with you. I know it sounds crazy, but it's the way it works. And you don't know this until you get to the other side. And I'll show you how to do that. This contains the realization that there is a spiritual intelligence that works through all your experiences and emotions. And these spiritual experiences, all these experiences are designed to help you grow. And as I talked about at great length in my book, Secret Nature of Matter, there are no coincidences. All the stuff is part of a constant unfolding. And just to say another couple words about dark miracles. The dark miracles are what I call terrible or tragic blessings. They cause immense suffering. No one should celebrate their own tragedy. But only when you get to the other side do you really know that it was beautiful, that it was actually meant to help you. But we can't see it. And that's where self-created health is so incredibly valuable, because you can then understand why you attracted any reality that you want to change. So consider for a moment the heroic journey. And in stories and in real life, we always admire the people who overcame tremendous adversity. And no one wants to see the movie about a rich kid who was helped every step of the way and then he managed to succeed. That's just not an interesting movie. It's always the person faced with intolerable, impossible obstacles who overcame. And when we attract undesirable experiences, it simply means that you are still engaged with an issue that needs healing. So you need to be very gentle with yourself. Many of you will be able to start creating miracles immediately. Others will have to do some troubleshooting. And the troubleshooting involves the emotional process work. I'll talk briefly about it here, but I can't go through an entire self-created health seminar. But I'll give you ideas on ways to handle the biggest stuff. And it's also possible that people who are still trapped in deep self-pity will be able to use these techniques and pop out of the self-pity today and be done with it if you use enough will and intention. And we'll talk about some secondary gains as well. So if you receive miracles, it produces an immense gratitude, joy, happiness, elation, and so forth. To receive miracles, you need to access those same inner states of the miracles that you wish to experience. Remember resonance and entrainment with quantum touch? You lift the energy and the body entrains. With miracles, you find a way to be in the field of miracles, as I'll call it, and you hold yourself in that vibration, then the reality has to entrain to your vibration. So as I said before, you can't use force to get there. A forced smile or laugh is not the real thing. You cannot attract what you are not. So, to receive is always more difficult for most people because you can't control the outcome. You have a lot of control if you're giving. You can give what you want to give. But when you receive, you're a little bit out of control. And that's not okay for some people. They don't like to be out of control. So you have to be willing to let go a little more and have some fun with this. So to receive miracles, you'll need to access these inner states of the miracles, as I said a moment ago. And you have to become that person. Now, most people assume that their past creates their present. And I'm going to give you a big one right now. This is so exciting. This is like one of the most exciting pieces of it. Everybody assumes, and we're taught, the past creates the present, but that's not true. The present is being created from the future. The future creates the present against a backdrop we call the past. So when you have that realization that it's the future creating the present, don't drag your past feelings into your future. What you want to do is bring your future feelings into the present. We project our feelings and beliefs into the future, and all those limited feelings and beliefs turn into our present. And the present moment we're experiencing now is a result of beliefs and feelings that we have projected into the future. Miracles are generated from the future and they land in the present. Now, another thing to realize as we're reframing all this is that there are countless possible futures. There's futures of ecstasy, there's futures of misery, and everything in between. The future is not yet determined. Now, some futures are much more probable than other futures, but all futures are undetermined, and it's actually incredibly fluid. The future is very, very fluid. It is not determined. Okay, well, somebody's calling. I guess Jennifer took care of that. So your point of power is right now. This is the moment where you have the power. And affirmations and positive thinking are frequently very weak attempts to alter your beliefs and emotions. These positive statements often function by telling yourself things that you know aren't entirely true. You know what I mean? So for example, I could say, I am wealthy, joyful, with vibrant health. And meanwhile, my subconscious mind might be rolling its metaphoric eyes and saying, bullshit. You call this wealth, joy, and health? So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a way to powerfully connect with crazy, brilliant futures. And that will allow you to become transformed now so as to create this. And I find this tremendously exciting. You see, with affirmations, you're always trying to convince yourself of something. And with this technique, you never have to convince yourself of anything because you're actually experiencing it. That's right. My cat is acknowledging this at the moment. So here's how this works. If you don't know level 1 or level 2, that's okay. You can still use this technique. If you know level 1, you'll be able to send level 1 energy and be much more successful and powerful using this technique. If you know level 2, send the heart energy and you'll be even more powerful with this technique. So here's how it works. You think about something that you really want, which would be a miracle. And you imagine, you don't imagine it, but you look for the, okay, here's all the possible futures and they're all out in front of you. You find a future that contains your desires. That future, by the way, already exists. You're not creating that future. That future is real. And what you do is you connect with that future. And you send that future energy, or call it love if you don't know how to run energy. Send that future your love. Feel yourself loving that future. And that future is alive and real, and that future will send you love. So create this bridge of love between yourself and that future. That future will change the way you feel now. And you don't have to be specific. You don't have to know everything about it, because that future already knows itself. You're not creating it from your imagination. You're bringing that future to the present. That's how reality is manifest, by bringing the future into the present. So you connect deeply with that future. Send that future love and gratitude and joy, and feel that future filling you, giving to you, enriching you, sharing what it's like to be in that space. Now let's make that a little stronger. Bring that future closer to you. Make it brighter. Make it more colorful. Is there any sound? Is there a scent? Is there any other sensory information you can add to that future to make it more vivid, to make it more real. Now, if you do this technique well, and you run energy into that future, send your love, send the heart energy, you're going to be feeling changed. And it's not an affirmation. It's not a fake smile. This is real, coming from the future and impacting you in this moment, in the present. Now, that is essentially a big chunk of the core technique of being able to manifest miracles. You send love to that future and receive love from the future. Then when you have that love, you feel changed. You feel different. All you have to do is maintain that energy. Don't, well, where's my miracle? It's been 2 hours. Don't look at the clock. What if it took a whole year? If you get into a hurry about it, after 3 days or something, you might get really disappointed. Like, where's my miracle? You know, it's not here yet. You have to be willing to allow the process to unfold. If your happiness is so dependent on the miracle, then you're in bad shape. And now you're demanding. You're demanding the miracle. So what you want to do is you want to be in this space of ease and allowance, that it feels so good to be connected to that future that becomes the reward in and of itself. That feels so wonderful. I'm so happy being connected to that future that I just love feeling this way. So I'm going to continue feeling this way. Just live in that vibration to the greatest extent possible. Now, if you find that that's impossible for you, and for many people it will be, because it's a big ask for a lot of people to give up all the suffering, the resentments, the shame, the guilt, and especially the self-pity. So self-pity is a choice. Now, nobody wants to hear this, but it's actually the way it works. Self-pity is actually a choice that people make. And there's no technique for getting rid of self-pity. It's a real hard thing. You just have to decide that you're done with it. You have to make that decision. And a good way to do it is to connect with a future that doesn't have any self-pity. Let that future infuse, connect. You might hold hands with that future. You might feel its breath, move closer and closer to it. Feel the joy, feel the connection of that future. Jennifer, I'm not hearing anything on the other side. I saw a message. Was there something supposed to be said? Not hearing anything. Let's see, maybe my sound. No,
you're fine. We can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I saw a message that asked if I'm hearing anything.
Somebody else had a trouble hearing.
Okay, that was it. All right.
Uh-huh.
So that's a short version of self-pity. We go through it in great length in Self-Created Health, but the bottom line is it's ultimately a choice. And you need to make that choice. Now, if you connect deeply enough with that future, it can raise you up where you're not feeling that energy of unappreciated, misunderstood, overburdened, unfairly treated, and so forth. All the subtle self-pity or the overt self-pity. Now, another thing you can do, let me take out a little sip of water here. Another thing you can do to amplify that connection with that future self is to connect your chakras to that future self. Now, we covered this kind of technique in the level 2 workshop in great detail, but essentially you're creating a bridge between each of your chakras and that future self. A bridge in the form of like a tube, like an umbilicus between yourself and that future self. And when you have all 7 of those chakras connected with that future self, it will amplify your connection with that future self. All right. One other technique that I used, which we teach in the level 2 class, is the 33-second technique. And using this in conjunction with connecting with the future self is absolutely fantastic. And if you don't know what this technique is, the explanation of why it works I find incomplete and distressing, but a spiritual teacher I worked with for years taught this, and it has worked wonders. The technique is very simple. What you do is you find a timer, and there's a lot of them online you can download on your phone, that will be a countdown timer, and you can set it for 33 seconds. I'm using one that works on iOS called a lab timer, but you can do some research and find one that works for your phone. And you set it for exactly 33 seconds. If you've already connected with your higher self and you're already in that space, just see yourself for 33 seconds exemplifying all the joy and happiness and gratitude that you feel having this success. And as soon as the 33 seconds is up, just drop it. Just distract yourself. But you want to go on for 33 seconds, and then as soon as the timer goes off, and you're done. And so this is a very, very powerful technique that will help you to also attract miracles by holding that space. So if you are unsuccessful, now usually within a few days, you will either have a miracle or you'll have a clue that the miracle could be coming. In our case, I bought some stock 14 years ago, and maybe it was longer. Anyways, about 14 years ago. And I started using the future and the 33-second technique, and then completely out of the blue, Jennifer gets an email from somebody who's going to help me sell my old shares I was convinced this company was worthless. So usually you get some kind of whisper or information or something positive affirming that you're on the right track within a few days, if not the miracle itself. So look for the whispers, clues that, oh, 3 people talked about this thing that I'm interested in. Hey, that's kind of a clue that something's happening. Or you see a billboard that suddenly says, the future is coming to you now, or some kind of thing that open a magazine and it says, it's that thing you really wanted is coming now, or just whatever it is. There's hundreds of ways, thousands of ways it can come to you, and it can come. So let's talk a little bit about troubleshooting. If you find it really difficult to hold the space, as I said before, failure only means that your beliefs aren't working for you. It's not cause for punishment or blame. What you want to do is you want to release as much of the intensity. In other words, if you're carrying old angers and resentments or old hurt, you need to dive deep to try to complete the experience and express it with as much intensity and fullness as you can find. And then you can also consider, what are you getting instead of the thing you want? Well, there are secondary gains that are often called payoffs. My cat is wanting to get in the way here. Okay, and so we can't do that. Secondary gains are what we take instead of getting the things that we want. They include such things as you get to avoid responsibility, get to blame, get to punish, get to feel self-righteous anger. Yes, he really did that to me. She really did that thing. Or self-righteous hurt. I've been so wounded. Now, the difference between self-righteous hurt and anger and real hurt and anger is self-righteous hurt and anger just builds ego and self-importance. It is never intended to be let go of. It's just there to shake around and have it and use it like a club to be upset about. The real hurt and anger can be released, and you can forgive yourself for having attracted that reality, and maybe forgive them too. But it's more important to forgive yourself than whether you forgive them, despite what most people will tell you. So along with the self-righteous anger and the blame and punishment. You get to blame forever, you get to punish them. And then there's something called an ego guarantee. Well, before I change, I have to have a guarantee that my life will be different on the other side. So I'm never going to let this go, because there's no guarantee that people will treat me better if I'm nice, or if I stop carrying this pain around, or if I stop being defensive. So ego guarantee is another one of the major hurdles that some people have. Instead of just trusting life and saying, okay, I'm going to enjoy this moment and trust that somehow things will work out, I have to have a guarantee first. And that's a real stumbling block for some people. Another one is just the overt self-pity and self-importance, just all by itself. And finally, fear of loss. If I let go of this suffering, I'll lose something of myself. I know Joe Rogan talked about being a comedian and being afraid that if he stopped suffering, he wouldn't be a good comedian anymore. If he let go of all his old anger and pain and hurts and everything, he wouldn't be funny. But he found out that wasn't actually true. He could be even funnier if he let
mute it
go
up a little bit
of that stuff. So, Jennifer, you still there?
Yeah, I just muted her, but we have some questions if you want to take a break for some questions.
I think this is exactly the right time for questions.
All right. There's a couple questions here. How often do you do the 33-second technique every day?
Oh, if I'm really on to creating something, I'll do it like 2 or 3 times in a row. You know, I take like 20, 30 seconds off or a minute off between them because it's going to be really intense. I'll do it 2 or 3 times in a row, maybe a couple times a day. You can do it a few days in a row. If nothing's coming, you're blocked. And if you connect with your future, you're going to be much more successful at using the 33-second technique. It's actually a fantastic tool to make the 33-second technique more effective.
I have something I want to add. What I noticed with manifestation is if you set the intent to manifest something, either 2 things will happen. Either it will manifest or the universe will show you what's in the way. So it actually does manifest in the way of you get triggered by something that shows you your beliefs and judgments that are not in alignment. So if I set the goal, for example, that I'd like to feel more connected to my partner, either that'll happen or we'll get into a discussion about an issue in our relationship that's in the way. And that's been really magical. So I wanted to share that.
You know, that's such an important point. I want to expand on it. I love what you said there, and that's really essential because it will always manifest as something. You're always going to have a manifestation, but it's either going to be what you wanted or something else, and that's a manifestation too. If you use the tools in self-created health, you can understand why you attracted that reality. That's the very first thing we show, is how to figure out why you're attracting any particular reality by asking the questions and then deciphering what the meaning of that is. But you are always manifesting. And even the tragic things that happen are a blessing. And you look back on people's lives, like Oprah Winfrey. And Oprah was molested as a child. She had a baby when she was 14 and the baby died. She had a tremendous amount of suffering. She grew up in poverty. She suffered terribly. But who is a more compassionate person? She used her suffering to build her ability to be compassionate. And that's why people love her so much, because she's the most compassionate person we know. She cares about everybody and she feels everything everybody says. She's the opposite of a psychopath. This next, Jim Carrey is a good example. Jim Carrey was so broke, he had to drop out of school. Benjamin Franklin had to quit school at age 10. And he used that pain, because his family was so poor, he used that pain to educate himself and become one of the great people in history. Jim Carrey had this desire for wealth that was so strong. But once he achieved the wealth, he's now communicating to people, God, I wish everybody could be super famous and wealthy. You'd realize how hollow that is. So he has used his gifts to educate people on what's really on the other side of it. Now, when you think about your story, you'll realize that the terrible experiences that have happened were perfectly designed to help you grow. They're not random. They're exactly aligned to help you grow. And when you're trying to manifest miracles and you see you got something other than the miracle, that is a little miracle too. Because as Einstein famously said, either nothing is a miracle or everything is a miracle. And I would choose to believe that everything is a miracle, but let's choose to manifest desired miracles as opposed to undesirable miracles. Next question.
Okay, this was
Or
way
comment.
back. How are
Yeah.
those chakra connections established we were talking about?
You just imagine like a tube or a connection between your sixth chakra, their sixth chakra, seventh chakra, fifth chakra, all the chakras, all seven chakras. Just imagine this tube connecting you two together. And just have that intention. It's all based on intention. There's no actual thing happening physically, but it's all created through the power of intent. So just create a connection. Could be a telephone wire for all that it matters. Could be an octopus tentacle. It could be anything. It doesn't matter. It's just that intention of creating that connection. Because the more deeply you're connected with that future, the more brilliantly you're going to feel now. And you won't have to put on that fake smile and pet the cat and try to be happy on top of the pain, because you're going to be feeling the joy of that new future.
Related question, I think, is how do you know for sure that you have made that connection with your higher self?
You feel really happy. And it's not necessarily your higher self. It's your future self. Now, the future self that's super happy is in line with your higher self. The higher self exists on multiple planes of reality. The higher self is about 1 billion times more spiritually evolved than we are. It's like comparing a bacteria to a genius, human. The higher self is so far beyond our imagination, we can't even go there. You can set energy and intention, but just by connecting to the most joyous future self, you're establishing a deeper connection with your higher self. And then you can go beyond the future self, past the future self to the higher self, and create the connection there too. But the higher self contains an energy of love that is so profound, it couldn't exist on the physical plane, because the physical plane is a state of illusion and density, and the higher self is coming from a place that couldn't even be physical, but it can connect with us and help us grow as we're connecting with future selves to help us grow too.
Okay, next question. I'm not sure, I don't recall the context of this, but somebody asked, what do you mean that will be blocked?
If you don't manifest the miracle, you're blocked.
Right.
If the miracle doesn't come, you've been blocked by yourself. Now, there's one other little piece. Sometimes it's actually in our best interest to not get the thing you want now. You may think you want this thing now, but it may really not be in your best interest. For instance, how do I know that some great harm would have come to me had I managed to get quantum touch out to billions of people? You know, because a lot of holistic physicians are not alive anymore who became, famous and popular. I don't know what is truly in my highest interest. So sometimes you won't receive something, not because you're blocked, but because it may not be in your best interest. So keep that idea softly in there somewhere that, hey, maybe it's not the right time for me to get this. Maybe I need to learn something first. Maybe there's something else. But as long as you're feeling the joy of that manifestation, you're on track. So the growth happens even if you're not seeing exactly the manifestation you want. And if you're holding this really positive space, how silly it would be to say, oh, poor me. I've been really happy for 3 days and nothing great happened. You got to be happy for 3 days. That is great. Probably a lot better than it was before. But if you ever find yourself in a conversation like that with yourself, realize that the real agenda was to keep the self-pity and the pain going. The reality will always show you what you're actually holding. The reality is always completely honest with you about what's true. And as Jennifer pointed out, either it manifests or it shows you what's in the way.
Hold on a minute here. We have someone. Okay. Next question. We got a lot here. Do you really need to understand to be able to transcend/tract?
What does that mean?
Do you really need to understand to be able to transcend or attract?
No, you don't. This is one of the exciting things about it. For instance, maybe I don't know what I should be happy about in the future. I don't care. Project a time in the future where you're just super happy and you don't even have to know why, and connect to that future where you're just super happy. And you don't have to have an explanation. This is, you see, so many people are into manipulation, domination, and control because they think it's the only way they can get by. But if you create a happy future, even if you don't know what it's about, then you got a happy future coming. So do it. It's great.
Okay, next question. We got a few people asking to re-describe the 33-second technique.
It's very simple. Imagine yourself being really happy about something, joyful, grateful, whatever. See a scene where you're really happy. You don't even have to know why you're happy, but you just see yourself being super joyous, enthusiastic, passionate, happy, whatever. Now, you don't want to be nervous. Nervousness is not an attractive energy. Nervousness is a repelling energy. So if you're nervous, don't even do it. You want to just be in a very clean space within yourself where you're just joyous, happy, grateful, whatever it is that you can access. And you set a timer for 33 seconds, a countdown timer. You can get them online. For Apple, I use something called the Lab timer, L-A-B. But there's probably other ones for Android and other things. Set it for 33 seconds. As soon as you hit the start button, you're on. And as soon as 33 seconds is over, you're done. And just drop it. You know, look around, open your eyes, distract yourself. Forget it. Don't. If you plant a seed, you don't want to dig it up every day and see how it's doing. Don't keep watching your manifestation every hour and say, well, is it manifested yet? Is it manifested yet? That's coming from lack. You plant the seed, you give it the water, you put it where it's going to grow well, and you forget about it and just let it grow. Occasionally you do the 33-second technique again and you're watering it again, but then just let it go. If you keep watching it, you're interfering with it. The best thing to do is just drop it. In other words, after you do the meditation with the future, just drop it. Forget about it. Just be in that space of happiness, contentment, joy, gratitude, whatever it is you can access. Be in that space and just live in that space. Because you experience that space, carry it with you. It's yours now. So have it. It's yours. Keep it.
Next question, would you say it's more effective to run energy into everything your desired future encompasses, or to choose one specific image that represents it all?
Neither. I just do something that feels good. I wouldn't be so ambitious. I'm going to fix the whole thing all simultaneously. No, just find something like, okay, there's 3 primary arenas of your life: health, relationship, and successes. Pick something in one of those arenas and then find the happiness about that. Or just be general and just go for general happiness. But don't be so specific and containing it. This is for miracles, not for containing. So let it be easy. You see, the whole thing is about being really easy. If you have any vibration of struggle or challenge, or you're on the wrong track. It's got to feel easy. If there's any nervousness at all about this thing you want to manifest, pick something else. You're not ready for it. I can guarantee you it won't manifest well. What you want to do is drop the nervousness, then do the meditation. And be allowing of the reality to unfold, as opposed to demanding. Because miracles don't like demands. Miracles can be elusive and they can run away from you. So invite them in by holding the space.
Next question. A tube between me and my future, or my future self?
Either. As long as you're feeling the emotional connection, that's good enough. But I like to just do a future. Maybe it's a month from now. Maybe it's tomorrow. Maybe it's a year from now. Maybe it's 10 years from now. And when I get into my deepest connected spaces, I go past the future self into the higher self. Because that's beyond the point of where love can be contained.
Would you use self-create health to remove blockages, or is there another way?
That's the best way I know. It's so specifically designed. And we've had so many psychotherapists take the workshop and say, why didn't they just teach us this in school? This is all we really needed to know. Yeah, it is. Because it teaches you how to do the process work. Now, I gave some simple techniques for doing it, and you can go a long way with that. And if you're willing, you might be able to just drop the pain and walk away from it. And you'll know if you did, because if you attract a new reality, you succeeded. And if you didn't attract the new reality, well, I guess you weren't ready yet. So walk away if you can, and if it works, great, you did it. And if it didn't work, well, you got more work, you got more homework to do. Homework, by the way, is the work you do to go home inside spiritually. So it helps take you home.
Next question. Can all of this really be this simple? I have an answer to that. So
yeah, you answer it, Jennifer.
Yes. I watched, theoretically, you could manifest stuff by sitting on the couch with the remote, if you're a vibrational match for it. And so that is possible. Sometimes it takes inspired action. So you may get simple inspired action where you feel like, yes, let's do this. But overall, like if you're a match for it, it's pretty simple. If you're not a match for it, that's where it gets more complicated, because then you have to do more process work.
Yeah, it can be so easy. And here's the thing. If you can connect to a happy future self, and you can let that future impact you now, there's no fake smile. There's no petting the cat. There's no putting frosting on doo-doo. This is just joy. And you live in that vibration of the joy that you experience. And since it's yours anyway, why do you have to leave it? You brought that to you. Great. Wear it. Keep it. Embrace it. Like a beautiful robe or coat or something. This is yours. So it's who you are. And it is that easy. It is that simple. And gosh, there's been so much misinformation and disinformation around these topics with all the affirmations and positive thinking and stuff. But that's just trying to convince yourself of something you don't really believe is true. So let's change the beliefs by connecting to a future that doesn't hold those old beliefs.
Next question. How specific should you imagine your future desires?
All right. This is a very interesting question, and I'll borrow a little bit from Abraham Hicks on this one. Be as specific as you want to be, as long as it doesn't cause nervousness. So in other words, if getting the $10,000 by Thursday makes you nervous, don't do it. Go, the joy of having more money. Having more money is easy because, oh, I could get another dollar. I could get, it could be easy. So what you want to do is being more specific is more powerful, but being more specific is more scary. It's more challenging emotionally. Like, I have to have this by this time. Wow, that's really hard. So be as general as you want to be. And that's fine, because you're still going to attract the energy. And it's kind of fun to be general because it means it's going to be a big surprise. You don't know how this happiness is going to express itself. But sure enough, it came around. And how wonderful is that, to be surprised? You see, it's the control. You see, the whole thing about manipulation, domination, and control is so addictive because we know we can't have what we want, and we know we have to use more and more coercion, force, pressure, manipulation, control, domination. We know we have to coerce it, make it fit the way we want. That's an old script. The old script is about domination, manipulation, control, where the new script is ease, love, gratitude, trusting the universe, being open, happy, having fun. Doesn't make a good movie, by the way. No one wants to see about a movie about somebody going like, oh, I can just feel easy and have nice things come to me. There's no movie there. The movie is the person who overcame the terrible difficulties, and somehow through force or control or fist fights or guns or whatever they did, they got to the other side somehow. Okay, I don't want to be in that movie. I like this movie better.
Someone asked the question, is this not the same as visualization?
Maybe. The problem with visualization is a lot of people don't really believe in their visualization is real. They think they're making something up. So you're imagining something and then trying to see the scene where I now have the money, as an example, or the car, or whatever, or the spouse, or whatever it is. And you're trying to imagine, well, how old, how beautiful, how this, how that, see the price tag, see the money. You're trying to make something up. You're not creating a space of allowance. You're trying to put something in that space that you can entrain to, that you can match. But meanwhile, your subconscious is going, you really believe that? Like, yeah, right. You're going to have that car? It's like, there's no car here. I looked in the driveway this morning. There's no car. So the point is, when you connect with a future that is already there, you're not making it up. And that's a huge, huge difference. You're not making it up. When you visualize, you are making it up.
Next question. What is usually the blockage when you have major hand pains?
Well, pain equals pain. Now, I'm not going to do a whole diagnosis because I can't do it on this call, but in Self-Created Health, we would break down and ask you about 8 questions, and we'd ask them over and over again. But I can tell you one thing for sure. Physical pain is emotional pain. And so there's a lot of emotion, there's some significant emotional pain that isn't being dealt with that's expressing itself in the hands. But it could be expressing itself anywhere, and it's different for everybody. But that's why we spend the first 2 hours of Self-Created Health figuring out exactly what the emotions are, and then the rest of the time, how we work our way through to the other side, so we no longer are putting our symptoms into our reality.
Okay, next question. How do we let our future self send love energy back to us?
You just receive it. You connect with it and receive it. You send it love, it sends you love, you receive it. That's all.
This is an interesting one. After you choose your desired future, what do you do with the other possible futures in your visualization, if anything?
Ignore them. Like, you know, you may be driving down a road and you're passing hundreds and hundreds of streets. What do you do with all those streets? You just go where you're going. You don't turn on every street because it's there. You just, okay, well, yeah, I saw that road. It's not where I'm going. I'm going on this road. So you just go where you're going. Is
the future self only imagination, or is it more? Then what exactly is it? More than imagination?
Okay. As I said early on, and you may want to listen to this a few times, because to let this in is so incredibly profound. There are thousands of potential futures coexisting all the time, right now. Which future are you choosing? We are projecting our beliefs and emotions all the time that get to the causal plane, and they manifest as this moment now. Like a waterfall that's constantly dropping water into the moment, that's our present. The present is being created from the future. So we project our emotions into the future that comes back as this moment. Sometimes we projected those thoughts from 30 years ago, and they're being manifest today. Other times, we projected it 3 days ago, and it's manifested now. So the future self is real, and there are thousands of them. So choose the one that feels good. Choose the one that feels best. You are not making it up. And if you can get to the place where you realize this is actually real, this future self is real, and then you can feel this burst of joy and gratitude that you're actually connecting, and now you're creating a bridge to the future. You're bridging the moment into that future by having an energetic connection where you're connecting your love through level 1, level 2, or just love by itself, connecting the chakras, but it's not necessary, but it's good. And you create this energetic bridge, but guess what? You're there now. Even though it's coming from the future, it has informed you on what the energy and emotions feel like. Don't control it, enjoy it.
This is an interesting one. If the 33-second technique works and we see ourselves not as angry or hurt, then Self-Created Health won't be necessary. Comment, please.
Yes or no? That's my comment.
I have a comment on that one too.
Yeah, the deal is we came into this lifetime to learn to grow and to heal. And you cannot circumvent your growth no matter what you do. And if you need to get over something that's a very deep emotional wound, I sincerely doubt your higher self is going to let you get away with those shenanigans of doing emotional bypass therapy. And I'm not going to have to feel this deep, deep pain, not realizing there's a well of unfathomable love at the bottom of that pain, and that you could be transformed from that pain by just doing a 33-second technique. I think you'll get the old spiritual veto on that one. But if it's possible, if you can, why not try? Give it a few 33 seconds and for a few days and see how you are. If you continue to manifest the old pain, well, I guess you got to go deeper. But if you can walk away from it, hallelujah, do it. So, bottom line, if you can walk away from a bad situation and be done with it, more power to you. If you can't, well, then do the work. Sometimes the only way out is through.
My take on this too is, let's say you want to manifest something and you're holding the intent and you don't feel like you're emotionally blocked, but it's not manifesting, then I feel like then you actually are. And what happens is you receive in more subtle ways in your reality messages that show you where you are blocked. So
yeah,
you may get triggered by other things in your reality that show you where you still have emotional charges that most likely are in the way.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Either it manifests or it shows you what's in the way. That's really the bottom line. And either way, you win. If it doesn't manifest and shows you what's in the way, well, great. You've got some new information you can use. You can do some healing, and then maybe you'll be more ready the next time.
I have a more specific example. If I say I want to manifest feeling more connected to my partner, and then he does something and I'm triggered by it, I'm like, oh, wait, now I need to process that because that's in the way. It's like I'm learning what I'm triggered by, and that means that there's something unhealed with me that got triggered by his behavior. And it's not about changing him. It's about, oh, I need to process and release that charge. The universe orchestrates people into our lives that are really good at triggering us sometimes.
Absolutely. And when you realize it, none of it is coincidence. This is one of the great discoveries in The Secret Nature of Matter book that I wrote, was how you can understand that none of this is a coincidence. It's all being orchestrated. We're living in a spiritual reality of unfathomable complexity and synchronicity.
Somebody else asks, what was the questions to ask to know you're on the right track?
Did I offer questions to know you're on the right track? I don't know that I did that.
I'm not sure. I don't think it's about asking. If your miracle isn't manifesting, it's not about asking questions. It's about seeing what is showing up.
Yeah, just see what's there, and you'll know you're if it hurts, you're not on the right track. So if it doesn't feel good, you know, you got homework to do.
Question, so do we run the heart field energy in the future for a while and then do the 33-second technique?
Don't worry about it. Just play with this stuff and have fun with it. Don't create a system. It's not about a formula. You just do these things. To try this one today, try that one tomorrow, do this one again later today. Just have fun with it. Make it up. There's no recipe here. It's not a formula. You just play with it. Have fun. There's no formula.
Next question is probably can I do the 33-second technique to manifest the same goal every day, or is this considered attachment?
Well, you can do it every day, but after, a week and nothing's manifesting, you got some blockage going. So, and you'll know if you're truly experiencing joy when you do the technique, or you're trying to feel joy when you do the technique. You'll truly know if you're feeling gratitude when you're doing the technique, or you're trying to feel gratitude. And you have to be honest with yourself, because this is what it is. The reality is the ultimate teacher of what's true.
Can you repeat the same goal any number of times? I think that's related.
Of course. It's your life. Do whatever you like. But if it's manifested, hooray. And if it isn't, you got more work to do. That's all. And if you're not seeing something in a few days or a week, well, you got more work to do. That's all.
Got more work to do. Can I feel the joy of the future of my dog's health, or is that messing with my dog's free will?
Well, I don't know. Try it. You know, I don't have all the answers, and I think that having a happy, healthy dog is certainly part of a potential future. And maybe in that future, the dog likes being healthy. So who are we to say what's true? I mean, we do energy healing all the time on people, and nobody seems to be complaining that they got better.
I think the reality is really fluid. You can have a future with a happy, healthy dog if you choose.
Unless the dog's time has come, which case the dog has chosen, hey, well, I think it's time for me to go, which is a whole nother story. But as long as it's in alignment, you can only do good by holding these spaces. So worry less, have more fun. And a lot of these questions are based on fear. They're very fear-based questions that, like, what if I'm doing it right? Or what if something goes wrong? And the whole point I'm making is, if you connect with the future and you feel the joy from that future, you did it right. And if you feel the joy from that future, just keep it and live in that vibration. What could be easier?
Here's a good one.
Okay.
I have an answer to this one.
Okay.
Do we muscle test to see where we're blocked on manifesting, or is it blocked by a soul contract? I believe that you don't need a muscle test, that there's no such thing as soul contracts that lock you into a potential, into a solid reality. The reality is really fluid. And what I believe happens is that you don't need a muscle test, because if it's not manifesting, you're going to get triggered by your reality that's going to show you very deeply what's in the way.
Very directly.
Very directly. So my feeling on manifestation is looking for your triggers, and they're going to show up, they'll show up in your reality, because you're I believe the intent to manifest is really a soul desire to grow. So the universe is saying, oh, the soul wants to grow to manifest this. Awesome. Here you go. Bam. Enjoy the trigger so you can process it.
It's all a gift.
And if it's a relationship, you want to manifest something with your partner, you both might get triggered on the same issue. So that's where the magic comes in. So anyways, can I do this technique with a specific person? I mean, with my current partner, that we're happy together. Okay, so I'll give you my experience on this. Or do I not have the right to have it with another being? So if you're unhappy with your current partner, or there's a relationship problem, I don't believe it's about trying to change your current partner, because how well does that work? It doesn't work. But what you can do is, I like to hold an intent saying, I would like a better relationship. I'd like more snuggles, or whatever it is you'd like in a relationship. Just hold that space. And what I've found is, magically what happens is that perhaps you and your partner get triggered on something, and a discussion occurs about a change in the relationship that you both may want. But the like magic happens to either change it in the relationship, or the relationship comes to an end and someone else new manifests. And I've seen both in my relationship life. Either relationships coming to an end because I want to grow differently than my partner, and then a new one comes in, or the current relationship kind of, you both are growing on the same in the same pace, and it's really, that's really magical too. The quantum field has no time calculation, just the now exists. So you don't connect to a future, but a timeline or a potential existence. Then that becomes the future in this realm. Maybe this is more accurate. I think, yeah, on a spiritual basis, there is no such thing as time, but we are in a time-based reality. It's kind of a paradox. Oh, someone asked, is there an example manifested that you could go through?
Well, okay. I already gave one example, which was that we had no income coming into Quantum Touch. When the virus struck and Jennifer decided we weren't going to be broken by this. This was actually going to be our finest hour, kind of quoting from the Apollo 13 movie, that this wasn't going to be our downfall. This was going to be our greatest achievement, our finest hour, as she put it. And we both decided to hold that energy. And from that energy, I created a little use of the pendant, and I started playing with pendants in a new way. Maybe I'll put that out at some point. But it started putting me in a better mood. And then I discovered about working with the future self. And I did that. And then I started thinking, well, where is a portal that new income could come in? Because the income wasn't coming in from Quantum Touch, that's for sure. So I thought about this stock I had bought 14 years ago, and I thought the company was a fraud. I thought, well, wouldn't it be nice if suddenly I could sell it? Because it was supposedly worth a lot of money, but the company wouldn't have anything to do with buying it back or going public. So it took magic, and only took like a couple, 2-3 days after we did the meditation before we had the contact who could help me sell the shares.
It actually appeared by magic, because in the mailbox we received this letter out of the blue.
Oh my
that
God.
that was from a person that was a shareholder that was actually wanting just to make a connection, and so I thought, well, inspired action, I'll just email him and just say hello. Yeah. And it was a physical letter that appeared within a couple of days. I emailed him and said hello, and he's like, oh, by the way, I can sell all your stock. So it was just like this magical synchronicity, because in my book, it was kind of a long shot extra source of income. And I said it would literally take a miracle to be able to.
It was a miracle. And
so,
you know, I'm going to make over $500,000 on this thing. And it was completely out of the blue, because I've never got a letter from anybody before, ever.
Never.
Never.
In the mailbox.
And I've had the stock for 14 years. Well, you realize that letter came from New Zealand.
Yes.
So the letter was probably sent before I did the meditation. But then time is an illusion. And causes happen before events. And it's all very convoluted and crazy. So we don't try to figure it out too carefully, because it only gets in your own way. You see, if you have to understand it, then you've already just blocked yourself as well. And so letting go of the control means having to know what's going to happen, having to plan out how it's going to happen, having to figure out exactly the best way to make it happen. And it's all that energy of trying to contain and control. Let it go. Let it be easy and fun. That's the whole point of this.
Next question. These two are actually related. So Henry made a good point. She said with the dog's inner healer makes his own choice. So when you run energy into somebody,
yes,
again, that's where you have to let go of control, because it's not up to you. And then question, do you need the permission of others before you work on them? So I can let, so I feel like if you're going to do a session in an office and physically work on somebody, yes, you definitely need permission before you touch somebody. But I think Henry has a wonderful way to answer this one with a distant healing. So if she's open, I'm going to unmute her, because she has thought this through. So, okay, Henry, are you open to answering this question?
Sure. Richard, you can answer this one too. Definitely. Sure. Basically, every time you think about someone or you send a smile to someone, you're sending them energy. It just comes through. And, say, excuse me, may I smile at you? So when we're doing quantum touch, it's that gift from the universal heart, the universal love, that you're offering energy in this way, and you offer it like a gift. And always within the recipient is that deep, abiding wisdom, much deeper and wiser than their conscious mind often, that says, I know what I need. And that wisdom inside the recipient is going to say, yes, thank you, or no, thank you, or tomorrow we'll accept it, or yesterday we'll apply it to yesterday's needs, or it'll go to the tree or the dog next door or the cat, you know, that could use some energy. But the bottom line is, if it's distant healing, offer it without attachment to it, to the outcome, and trust that their inner healer knows what to do with that energy. And if it isn't used by them, it will be used in another place, in another space.
I think that's an awesome answer. Thank you.
I like it. Thank you. That's really true.
Mm-hmm. The energy goes where it needs to go.
Yeah.
So this is the one I wanted to talk about. So one person said there are definitely soul contracts that can block energy healing. For example, my wife resists all kinds of energy work so that she can learn how to fix herself. I personally don't believe in soul contracts that lock you into a specific future reality. I believe it's fluid.
Well,
Richard, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, we always have a choice, period. That's the most important thing. We always have a choice. But some people choose to have contracts. And the contract is, I will never argue with you. I'll always be submissive to you, or I'll always be miserable because you're miserable, and we'll be miserable together. These are contracts. They're not locked in stone. They're just contracts. And usually when somebody breaks the contract, it destroys the relationship. Because a codependent relationship that's based on both people being miserable, as soon as one step gives up the misery, they can't be with the other person. The miserable one can't be with the happy one, and the happy one can't be with the miserable one. So we have contracts with people, and maybe you can call it a soul contract, but the truth about soul contract, if it does exist, is you can always change your mind. So that's the clause at the bottom of the page, that this is true forever until I change my mind. That's what it says at the bottom in the fine print. Always true until I decide it isn't. So I wouldn't use that as a reason to hold yourself back.
Yeah.
I think the biggest obstacle is self-pity. That people are addicted to feeling sorry for themselves, and they'll block their miracles. That's it. They'll choose to blame and punish, hold on to the old angers. They'll do anything other than let go of the self-pity and the pain, because it keeps them tied to their past and keeps all the blockages in place. All you have to do is make the choice. Get rid of the self-pity, dump it, leave it behind. Give it to goodwill.
I think, yeah, take it to goodwill. I think one of the things that's really hard about this is that you have to let go of the attachment to outcome. And sometimes if you change, your partner will change. Through the energies. And sometimes if you change, your partner may leave. Or
that's right.
If the relationship may not follow, may not catch up to your new self. I've seen both happen in my relationship lives.
Exactly.
So, that's the hard part about letting go of control.
Yeah.
Somebody said, could you take us through a small technique as an example of how to do it? Are you able to do that?
You got to do it yourself.
Got to play with that.
I can't be inside your head. I can't know when you're ready. I can't do that at all. It's such a simple technique. You just do it. You connect, you feel the joy, and you live in it. That's it.
It looks like I was looking all the
I think that's great. I think we did what we seemed to do today. I think this was fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
And almost an hour and a half, which is good. I feel complete.
Yes. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah, really appreciate it. I've been having a lot of fun with playing with these techniques. It's the fun. I think the fun part is if you can enjoy being triggered as well, say, oh, wow, look, I was triggered by that. Well, isn't that interesting? It makes it a little more fun. Anyways.
Yeah, just you know, be a surfer and ride the wave from the future.
So,
So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
It's been a real joy sharing this with you.
Thank you so much,
And
Brenda.
Thank you. I'm going to
catch
just
you next time.
catch you next time.